Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, this is working out. Let's see if we can get the test on the other channel here. A little bit of technical difficulties. I apologize for that. Trying to get it rolling this morning. I am. First of all, welcome to the Ground Truth from TN4. My name is Tom Davis, Thomas E. Davis. I am your host and candidate in the Republican primary for the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you for tuning in. So let's see. I'm going to get this checked. And so what was going on was that I tried to spin us up and had to go down and reboot it all. So we are now, looks like we're live. Yep, there we go. Looks like we're live. Perfect. Everything is working. Very nice. Let's get back over here to where I want to be. Okay, confession to make this morning. I don't normally do this, but I got some Starbucks. It's what they have at this resort. So take it for what it's worth. That's what I did. So got the Starbucks going instead of my normal routine. And I am in Pigeon Forge, and I'm here for the VFW, the Tennessee Department of Tennessee VFW State Convention. And as I talk about this stuff, just so those of you out there that like to make it weird, just because I'm here does not imply or say an endorsement from the VFW. The VFW is a nonpartisan organization. They do not endorse candidates, parties, or any similar such not like that. They are, however, lobbyists, and they do advocate for and on behalf of veterans. And I happen to be a part of this organization, and it's our state convention. So here I am doing VFW stuff as part of what I do. So there is that. Thank you all very much. And I will be here Sunday morning. I'll roll out and head back home, and we'll get back at it next week. And I am here. Like I said, I'm still doing the work from here. And this is in fact, the topic of the VA clinic has already come open. I met with one of the legislative assistants, I think is what he's our executive legislative, whatever the title is. And he's actually running for junior vice, which the way it works, he'll then roll up, and eventually if he wins, he will be the state or department commander. So here, let me see if we can get the picture on the wall going. Perfect. Okay, I think so. This morning, what we're going to do is, let me get over to it. No, this is what I want. This morning, we'll change it up a little bit in that I'm going to run through the comments from the Facebook. Had a few this week. It was pretty entertaining. So we'll run through that, and then we'll get into the topics of the week, and then you jump on here, you see you want to drop a question, we'll answer questions. So the first one we'll talk about here, and this is a reposting. I typically will repost the Patriot Punk Network. Chase and Daniel put out some good stuff. Do it in an entertaining manner, I think. This was on because I was on with him about the closing of the VA clinic. I was on with those guys, and then and I'm not going to read this one because it really is completely irrelevant to that, but it is a relevant topic, and that is data centers. And this is Shelley Ganson Martin, and thank you for jumping on any of these and commenting. Anybody that does, we'll get to a little bit more of that later, but Shelley is talking about data centers, and it's a big concern. And there are actually some counties in Tennessee that are trying to sort it out on their own, and one of which is being Coffee, and Mayor Dennis Hunt over there in their county commission has started doing some things, put a moratorium on things to study it a little bit before they decide if they want these data centers or not. And this is a state and county really issue, and city, depending on how big that city is. And how you do it here in Tennessee is with the county, or the executive powers acts. So and this is where the balance of the government comes in: property rights versus, like, hey, as a community, we are saying we don't want these things. And so you put in the ordinances or whatever, and restrict them and say, yeah, no, thank you. There's also some stuff working in the state and through with TVA, putting in some regulations on it. So it may kind of work itself out in the manner that they will be required to upfront some of the infrastructure costs, so that those costs are not pushed onto us. So, but this was a big, and there are concerns about this, very legitimate concerns for these data centers. And there may be communities, if there's two sides of this, or, in different sides, but if you're in a community that you welcome these, then, you probably don't need to do much about it. Or, you try and bring this industry into your community. If you don't want it, then y'all better get after it. Start talking to your commissioners and state representatives, and start getting after it to limit some of this stuff. So, and you can still watch that over on Rumble, that interview that myself and my friend over there with the VFW, Chris O'Connor, did, talking about it. And that's on Rumble at the Patriot Punk Network. So give those guys a shout out. Did a great job on there. I was happy to be on with them, and I appreciate them putting it together. What was this one? Oh, this was, I went to the Rutherford County GOP. I was there. Oh, what night was that? Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know. I'm not going to roll back the calendar. But this week, John Rose had a thing there, and I wanted to be there. One, because it's what I'm doing. But two, I wanted to personally thank John Rose for taking the lead on keeping the VA clinic open, which our congressional rep, our current incumbent in the 4th district, if there was enough pressure, he got off his hands. And it is interesting, and I understand it, but it was an interesting conversation with Congressman Rose, and telling me not to give up on Scott Desjardins. I'm like, I gave up on that dude, the last cycle, and I ran for it, and if the things wouldn't, and we'll talk about the VA a little bit more, but if things wouldn't have culminated like they did, Scott Desjardins would have sat on his hands, and the clinic would be closed in essence, because the 31st is on Sunday. So we've been able to kick the can because of the pressure applied by the community, and because of local representatives and elected leaders. Our county executive in Warren County, Terry Bell, our state reps, Paul Sherrill, and some of those others, and like I said, just in the community, folks that jumped up and applied the pressure in an election year. Had this happened in an off year, I think we would have been close, because Scott Desjardins would not have. He has sat on his hands. I mean, again, look at the letter. Like, oh no, what happened? I didn't know. No. So there we have it. That one I don't know. Let's see. Is this the one? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That was something else. Actually, so I was able to, on Memorial Day, or actually it was Sunday, I went and the Rutherford County Veteran Coalition, in conjunction with, I don't know. It was another organization, but it's for veterans, to bring awareness to veteran suicide, try and get these guys some help before they commit the act. Anyway, I did a 5K ruck march with those guys, and it was a great event. Listening to the stories of some of these guys I was able to walk with, and it was a good time. So I did that, and then Monday on Memorial Day, Warren County, we do a ceremony out at the airport that we do every year, and that was good. And and we'll have some varying degrees of views, I guess, on Memorial Day. But up front, it is about our veterans, our service members that gave the last full devotion, the last full measure of devotion, or paid the ultimate sacrifice, however we phrase it. These are the folks that died in combat, defending our freedom. And we at least need to pause a little bit there and remember them. But on the other side of it too, to live your lives, do things, do the barbecues, do the things. Because like I said, I know for me personally, if I had got killed somewhere downrange, I wouldn't want everyone moping around. Just figure it out. That's deal with it, move on, and and move on. Maybe a little harsh, maybe, but just carry it. It's just it's one of the deals that you do with any type of thing. But remember them absolutely, and we honor them. And part of how we honor them is barbecues. All right, there we go, and ceremonies and 5Ks and whatever. But just take that pause. So but yeah. So that was a great event. I'll see about hitting it again next year. We'll look at timing. But there we go. Now let's get into some fun stuff. Oh, we're not quite there yet. So I used AI. I'm not hiding any of that, but I used some AI a little bit in my editing, and I started using it for these ads. I've got a fundraiser coming up next week on Friday the 5th, and that's at we're doing the afternoon. They can start showing up around 5. So we'll start serving at 5. The dinner, we got Prater's barbecue coming, and then we got a cornhole tournament. We'll start that at 6. But anyway, I've run some ads or made some using AI. That's a grassroots campaign. I'm doing a lot of my stuff. That's just how it is. But so anyway, there was some comments on this one, and there's couple other comments from, and this is Kara Stidham. And I believe Kara is actually an actual person and not a bot. But Kara comments on my ad, "Good Lord, more AI slop. This is just embarrassing." And I just say thanks for the comment. So that was that one. Let's see. Hopefully, no. All right. Let me get back to, where are they at, man? This is the one. No, it's not. Just this is a cousin of mine chimed in there. Thanks, Chuck, for doing that. Come on. All right, I may have to try and find this one. This may be, no, it should be. Well, this is making me sad because that's that one. Anyway, there was quite a bit of oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, still not this one. Should have tagged these a little bit better, I guess. Oh, maybe this. Oh, that's the old stuff. We already talked about that guy. All right. Well, sadly, I think that is gonna
grab a teammate and bring your best toss.
Yeah, there's
the Thomas E. Day.
Oh, in fact, there's my dealy jig going up now. Let me see if I can find it. I'll try and find it real quick this way. If not, we will just move on. Nope. Okay, sad day. Looks like Yeah, and I'm back to June 13th. So, or no, wait a minute. Wait, oh no, June 13th is that's the Sequatchie Valley Conservatives are putting on the meet and greet down there. Oh, maybe nope. All right. Well, looks like we're missing out on the comments. Sad. I was looking forward to it this week. There was some interesting comments, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from most of them. If you want to go back and look, but there was one particular, and they were, bagging on me for the AI stuff, and then yeah, got called an asshat. That was awesome, and that was that the one I mentioned already? Was it Kara? I think. But yeah, I said hire a human. So I said, send your resume. She said no thanks. So all right, well, there we have it. But yeah, it was some interesting comments there. And like I said, typically I'll just those just thanks for the comment, but it just amused me to do that, so I did. And then yeah, and some of these are bots that come up. I mean, they do the same old nonsense. Oh, it was pretty. I don't know if I'd heard that before. What it was, Repetoken, I think it was. I'm like, wow, bro, did you come up with that on your own? Yeah, so some of the stuff that comes up there is interesting. But I will say on the other side, actually, and I commented back on this one post, and I wish I had it in there, but and I think this is someone that was at that town hall that I did or that I attended, that was put on by Murfreesboro Indivisible, and I think it was, but they'd watched one of my videos and commented that they're Democrat, but they agree with a lot of what I said. And that if and of course you get the term in there, I guess the derogatory term for Donald Trump is taco, but he said you probably won't fare very well or don't let taco find out. That's probably pretty fair, because I don't know how many friends I'll make up there being constitutionalists like I am, because that's part of the trouble we have, is that both parties, they're really not really all that interested in operating from the perspective of the Constitution. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But we got to keep sending folks up there that'll fight the fight and try and get us back to the Constitution. So there we go. Very good. All right. Hey, if you're on here, give me a thumbs up. Do the you got questions. Let's I'm trying to think this week what I have. I don't think any real new questions came up, other than the data centers are a thing, and federally, I don't know. That's if we have seen some cases where and I don't know if it's the states or if it's federally that they're using eminent domain. I'm going to have a hard time with that one, to be honest with you, about the federal government coming in and trying to buy up these. It's a let the market kind of figure it out, because the whole issue is the cooling and the juice. They need the electricity. They burn tons of it, and it's going to cost us. And then there are some other things. There's the noise of it. I think these data centers go up fairly quickly. So the construction, I mean, it'll be a thing, but that'll get taken care of and wrapped up fairly quickly. But it's a thing, and it's coming up. And there are already thousands of these in this country, and it's only going to increase. And the other side of that is understand what they're being used for. Every time you pick up your phone, every time you log onto the computer, every time it's processing our data. It's not just some mythical, we call it the cloud, but it's not up in the sky. It's got a physical location where the stuff is processed. So, but hey, if you don't want them in your backyard, you don't want them. So don't, but go into action. So it's going to be something to keep an eye on. And we see this when we go through things. I remember the last one was the 5G. Everyone was flipping out over that, and now here we are. Nobody even talks about 5G anymore. It's already done. Upgrades. I'm sure it's still being done. I don't think we have managed yet to get them all upgraded, but it's a thing. And again, put some protective measures in place. We heard about the phones causing cancer or tumors or whatever in our nuggets. Then use the earbuds or put it on speaker, mitigate some of that stuff. But none of us are putting our phones down. None of us are not getting on the computer. Well, a few of us are. Can't say none. I don't think the Amish have been converted to it yet. I don't think they're doing phones and computers yet. But it's a thing. So be wary of it. And I'm not saying just to buy off onto things. Do some research in it. And if you want to opt out. But that's with any of this stuff that we do and we talk about. If we can't get enough folks to jump on board, it's not going to happen. So, okay, let's start getting into our topics here. Now, the first one up, the VA clinic. This is one I'm going to continue to push, and regardless of an outcome on August 6th, I will continue to badger on this, because up front, our representative was lost in the sauce. They did not know it was coming with that, and won't address what happened there. He's blamed it on the VA, and they probably share a little bit of it, but at the end of the day, it's up to you as the representative to know what's going on in the district and interface. You've got a staff. Somebody should have been interfacing. And I've talked about this before. I'm not necessarily saying that somebody should get fired, but we need to know that the problem was rectified. Because there was a reason you didn't get notified. And my belief is that reason is because you don't care. The Scott Desjardins truly doesn't care. He's comfortable enough in the seat and has got some margins to show for it, and so he doesn't feel it necessary to be engaged in the district, and that bleeds down to a staff, because you are the congressional rep, you have a staff, you are the leader of that staff, and you're responsible for them. And somewhere, somehow, down that line, the ball was dropped. They weren't over there at the VA asking questions like, "Hey, what's going on? What are we doing? What are the, what's the what?" So they got caught short. So what's the fix? And again, I'm not necessarily saying that somebody should be fired, but we should know, because at the end of the day, we elect this person to represent us. Our taxpayers our taxpayer dollars fund this venture. And so there should be an accounting of that fiscal responsibility and those responsibilities inherent in that job and those jobs in those offices. So did we, hey, to me, it's like, come out, but like, yep, my staff, we had an issue. We found it. We've taken care of it. I don't need a full blown explanation. I don't need the person's name. Just, let's get some feedback and something other than throwing your hands up in the air and saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know," and the clinic closing. Sorry about your luck. Because that's what happened. That's what our representative was going to happen. He was going to sit on his hands, go about his day, and he showed this. And it's, I don't think I'm overstepping in what I'm saying here, because the VA had the town hall. Congressman Desjardins said, "Nope, I'm going to head up to North Dakota," because that's what that says to me. He doesn't really care. So, and I think he didn't care because he didn't think it would be such an issue. But it's time to hold people to account for what they tell us. And if you say you support veterans, don't no-show when it's time to be there for the veterans. To me, that's horrible. Like, you got to be kidding me. And I do run into him occasionally. So I hope I don't have to hear him tell me, thank you for your service, or in person to hear him say I support veterans, because I know the opposite to be true. And that was part of that discussion there with Congressman Rose, talking about how Scott Desjardins got engaged, yada, yada, which after we put a fire under his butt after the American Legion started the petition, after our local representatives started trying to figure it out and how to correct the situation. And it took Congressman Rose to take the lead on it and then pull, I guess, Scott Desjardins kicking and screaming to go do his dang job for his district. And so then he got engaged. And now running around, going on interviews talking about, well, we did all the work and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. How about up front, you failed us, and then now you're trying to play cleanup? At least be honest about the situation. To me, that's an integrity thing, man. You got caught short, and now you're trying to say it was you that fixed it. Yeah, ridiculous, very disingenuous. And I, for one, am not super excited about a representative that'll do that. So there we go. And then additionally with it, all they've done is kick the can for us. So this has gone to the end of December is what we have now. And this is all just stuff I've heard. I haven't actually gone and talked with the VA. I think I'll try and get up there next week and see if I can get in. Who knows? I understand I'm just the candidate right now. But to see, my understanding is the VA proper is going to take over the running of this facility, which in the meeting, this is what I said. I do not care. I do not care who you have. You contracted it out, who's running that facility. At the end of the day, it is a VA responsibility to honor the contract. And if you because of the contracting process, maybe that's something we need to take a look at, is how we're awarding these bids when we contract the operation of these facilities out. Maybe we need to look at our contracting process and do something different, because that company operates 3 other facilities in Tennessee. So, but that's my understanding is the VA proper is coming in to take over the running of this facility, which again, it's their responsibility to make sure it runs to begin with. So there is that, but we've got to keep up the fight. If you are a veteran, you received care, and a personal decision, I have done this. I have moved my care back to McMinnville, and because again, all these things they talk about, you're going to find it in. It's been my experience in every VA facility I've been in for primary care. Is, oh my gosh, that was why I went to McMinnville to begin with, is because I was going to York, and every time I go up there, I get somebody new. Occasionally, English is a second language, or it's just ridiculous. So, but transfer your care back to McMinnville, and because that'll be the next thing. Is like, well, nobody came back, so we're going to close it. And then do the reviews. And you can call up to Murfreesboro to the patient advocate, I think is where it is, and give a good review without having them send any type of stuff to you. And you just understand this is what happens with you complainers. If you complain enough, that they'll close a clinic. Just we've seen it. So maybe we should think it through. And maybe not complain about the staff, but the system, right? This, and so they can figure it out. Hey, here's a problem that they're changing docs all the time or whatever. And that really wasn't trying to think back through my experience with the McMinnville clinic. It's actually been pretty decent. And a lot of this stuff you have to advocate for yourself. I'm working with them right now, trying to, get some stuff done that, sometimes you gotta take the lead on some things, man, especially when it's your own medical stuff. So, okay. So VA clinic. So like I said, and make the calls, keep the pressure up to Congressman Desjardins' office. Cause I'm telling you right now, he wins this primary. And we let off the pressure. He'll go back to sitting on his hands, and the clinic will close come the end of December, and we're done. Then we're back to, fighting to get on to Arnold Air Force Base, because the access issues there. You're trying to figure out people in the community that are accepting new patients. You're trying to, yada yada. You guys know the deal. You're fighting the fight to figure out your care, and you're driving for it. So, and again, and you veterans out there, who better to represent us than us is my mantra on that. So if you want someone that will support veterans, send a veteran. Okay, let's talk a little bit again. And some of this stuff is rehash, is not necessarily it's a little more development as time progresses. But the next one is we've got the congressional map, the new congressional map, and it's done. It looks like Tennessee's. It looks like they did it right, and it'll go through and withstand any of these nonsense lawsuits. So it just is what it is, and we're my campaign, myself, we're running forward with the campaign, the new lines as they've been drawn. So that's how we're slicing it up, and we'll just keep doing it, and that's working to get into the other counties, Van Buren and Cannon counties, and then still going to the other places. I had was my Cindy, my wife, and then my campaign manager. They were down in Marion County last night. Pretty positive feedback down there. Looks like we actually will go down to they're spinning up their Reagan Day dinner, I think in July. I don't know. Cindy told me, I think, but they'll put it on the calendar, and then we'll get our tickets, and hopefully be able to get on the stage there and talk a little bit. We'll see how true it is. I've heard Congressman Desjardins doesn't want to attend events that I'm at, so I'll be at that one, regardless of whether I get on the stage or not. It should be a good time. I haven't been to a Marion County Reagan Day, so I think it works out on the calendar with the dates that we'll be able to get to it. I think we've got. Oh yeah, I've got an event that morning. I think it is. I want to say the 11th of July. So yeah, be ready for that. And then so anyway, trying to get into these counties. We're talking about the redistricting, and that business, which is it's all good stuff. So I was actually trying to get back over to my thing here, and I was where I wanted to be. So let me get back to it real quick, and then I'll. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what I want to do. Man, I am messing this up by the numbers. That's for sure. Okay, we'll get that sorted out. But yeah, so we're wearing it out still. Like I said, we were down there. We kept Marion County as part of the redistricting. The 18th of June, I'll be in Cannon County at their GOP meeting, and then we're working. Actually, when is that? I think the 11th. Let me look at the calendar. I got to do something real quick here. Let me do that for me. Let's just do that. Look at that go. All right, very nice. Okay, so we're going to do that. I'll pull the calendar up since we're talking about this, and we'll talk calendar where I'm going to be. So, like I said, we got state convention the rest of this weekend. We have got. Let me see. Let's get to that. Next week we're working to fill it out. You know what? Holy smokes! All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where we're at. Okay. All right, my calendars are being weird here. That one's yeah. Okay, let me look at it on on here. So yeah, that is super weird. Oh, I think I see what happened here. Nope, that's not it either. All right, hey, this is. Oh man, I'm having some technical difficulties this morning. That's for sure. All right, I'm just going to run off of this one. So, like I said, I've got the VFW state convention, and again, does not imply any type of endorsement or anything like that for myself as a candidate, the campaign, anything. VFW does not do that. They are nonpartisan. So anyway, so this week looks like Monday we got some stuff. Oh, we got some personal appointments. We don't need to talk about those. What is this one? All right, looks like I might have to get briefed up on some things. Where is this even at? Oh, that one's okay. So it looks like maybe Davidson County. We might be doing some stuff up there this week. And then, the 5th is the fundraiser in Warren County, and that's it. The flyers are up on my Facebook if you want to go find them over there. And yeah, so we're talking about leaning forward, moving ahead a little bit. But yeah, the 13th is a Saturday. We'll be down in Sequatchie County, and that is from 12 until 3 o'clock, and I'll be down there a little earlier. There's another event that goes on down there. It's called Challenge 22, and this is another great event down there for veterans. Raise awareness again for veteran suicide. But it's Cindy and I went last year, and yeah, very 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 good event. If you're in Sequatchie County in the Sequatchie Valley, then you can get over to that in Dunlap, do that, and then at the Coops Common in Dunlap is where the Sequatchie candidate spotlight is. And then looks like there's the Lucky CIC in Warren County. I'll probably beat feet up there to that one. And then the following week got some VFW meetings that look like I may go to. Some of these I've been to, and so, yeah, good stuff. Oh, it's on my calendar. Oh, I'm not on the invite list for this one, so we won't talk about it. Then, yeah, so we've got some stuff coming up, and then just out running around in the district, meeting people, doing things. Like I said, a lot of positive feedback last night from Marion County, and some things going on down there. And that is, if something I missed coming up on the end, but my endorsements in Marion County, Chandler Hardwoods, it's a gun store down there. They are one of the businesses that have endorsed me. Again, firearm shop, Foghouse Firearms in McMinnville, Campbell's Armory in Tracy City in Grundy County, and then out of the county is Tactical Response is in Camden, Tennessee. They have endorsed me also. I think that's everybody. So as far as that goes, but so yeah, we're did that in Marion County, and then yeah, that's super weird how that calendar is shaking out. So all that was running off of the redistricting. So and it's been, I mean, it is what it is. You gotta move on and deal with it as it comes. I mean, I can't control any of the redistricting thing. That's all at the state level. So that's just kind of how it worked out. Next one we'll hit quick here is the government surveillance. So this is the FISA again. And if we don't stay on top of these things, they'll drop off, and we'll forget about them until like, oh my gosh, he signed it again. And so the FISA, and I've talked a little bit about this one, and our congressman is just, yep, let's go along with it. And this is where things have gotten twisted. Some legislation was written and poorly written, and so now the executive branch is going nuts, overreaching, coming up with regulations, and then again, there's like 97% of these FISA warrants are approved. Why even bother? Just go ahead and trample all over our rights. And they're buying our data. They're going around kind of the back door, if you will, and buying our data from these companies that are collecting everything on us. They're sifting it through, and it's like they're out hunting. They're out hunting for this stuff. And oh my gosh, we are so regulated right now. It's absolutely insane. And they tie it back to the poorly written legislation. We have allowed the executive branch to run buck wild. And the fix is clean that stuff up, write better legislation, and put in there that, hey, any questions, it comes back to the legislation or the legislative branch to fix and to clarify, not just you're gonna run amok. Because here's the end result is that then we, the people, get freaking jerked around every time there's a new administration that comes in. And the big example I like to use is the pistol braces, because 10 years we went and they said, yeah, that's cool. And this was during the the Biden administration, his ATF. And then they're like, yeah, no, we're going to make those illegal again. So start throwing your stuff away. Show us you've just, turn it in. Yeah, absolutely insane. No, knock it off with this crap. First of all, it shall not be infringed is pretty freaking clear. But that's some work on that. Is let's get rid of the 1934 National Firearms Act, unconstitutional. 1968 Gun Control Act, unconstitutional. It's insane. So anyway, back to FISA. Yeah, there should be some controls. I got it, but the way it's written now, it needs to be redone and done better. One of the other big ones we talk about, and this is big, whether we want to think it is or not, but is our national deficit, and more so the deficit spending. That mess has got to stop. We've got to peel back the welfare state that's going on. That's where some of that money is. The welfare state of overseas. It is not our responsibility to fund all these foreign nations, and really they're strategically they're ridiculous. What I hear the other day is like 700 bases overseas that we have, and our biggest adversary, China's got like 3 of them. And that was it was Chad Benson on 99.7 was talking about that. So it was like, you got to be kidding me, man. Insane the amount of money that we send overseas, and again, strategically unimportant anymore. And that's what our biggest ally. We need to cut ties with that mess. That's for sure. They have been irrelevant to us since the Cold War ended, and even now, I mean, they do what they want. They spy on us. They sell our secrets to other. It's ridiculous. They are not friends. They are not our friends. That really, if you look at it, take a step back and look at it, they're not our friends. And you can look at the current conflict now going on with Iran. How many times has President Trump had to be like, hey, quit, we're trying to do a thing here, and they're like, don't care. And then now we're gonna push this into Lebanon and keep trying to do the things in Palestine. And we need to cut them jokers loose, man. That'd be my take on it. And again, and as we talk about some of this stuff, like I am allowed to have my own views, and I do. And that lens is the Constitution. But I understand I represent a district, and so the majority, I will vote. I will vote the district, even if there are some lines biblically that we won't cross. I will not. I absolutely will not vote in favor of transgender affirming care in any way, shape, or form. So that's and this district right now, I don't think we're going to have a majority, but I'm just as an example, that's the line I won't cross. Our rep now had no issues voting yes, transgender affirming care in the military multiple times. Go look at the National Defense Authorization Acts. So, you know, it is what it is. And I've said this, there's a line in the Creed of the Non-Commissioned Officer, and I will not compromise my integrity nor my moral courage. And I believe that, absolutely. So I'm not going to get up there and get bought off by APAC money. And we're going to look at it constitutionally, and I will be up there wearing it out, talking to people. And it is, and we do this, and like even on my Facebook stuff, I'll go back and forth with these people because I'm not, like I said, some of it's entertainment value. I used to tell the privates that when I was a drill sergeant, there's always a reason for what we tell you, even if that reason is my own entertainment. And so I'll push back a little bit on Facebook, but mostly it's just thank you for your, thanks for the comment. But there are, issues on the extreme ends of either of this. And I've talked within the community, I've talked with a lot of Democrats, and there is some common ground, and we've got to find it. The reasonable people in the room have to figure it out and launch those, those extreme ends. We got to tune them out, man. We still have to pay attention to them because, as we've seen in the Democratic Party, they have been steamrolled, and to an extent, we're seeing that in the Republican Party with some things. We're supposed to be the party that is constitutional, that is fiscally responsible, and we are not. Again, we're $2 trillion to the deficit every year. That is not fiscal conservatism. Yeah. You're not being a good steward of the resources. That dog don't hunt, and we're going to lose the country, our own doing. It'll be our own undoing, and it's because we send all the money overseas. I think it's 22% of our budget is welfare programs. Socialism doesn't work, man. And again, not to say we shouldn't take care of people, but it's not up to the federal government. That is not in the charter, my friends, for us to be taking care of that stuff. So, and if we don't, and I don't know when, I'm not Johnny Wishbone, psychic extraordinaire, to know when it'll pop, but guaranteed it will pop. So, yeah, we've got to get back to some reasonableness throughout the nation. And again, you can, if you want to take up a cause to end homelessness, then take up the cause. But again, this is not a function of the federal government to rake in all these taxes, filter it through fraud, waste, and abuse, filter it through administrative processes, and then make the states beg in the form of grants to get their money back. This is a ridiculous system we have allowed to develop. Knock it off. Get the federal government back in its box, back in its lanes. Stay in your lane, as the expression goes, and do those things. And the federal government is good at doing what it is supposed to do, and it serves that function. When they start getting outside of it, that's where it goes wonky, and we've lost control. We truly have with a lot of these programs. So we have got to start having adult conversations. We have got to start looking at plans to extract the federal government from nonsense it shouldn't be doing. Not up to the federal government to feed your family. I mean, that we don't want to hear that. A lot of people don't. It's not up to the federal government to be managing your health care. We don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. And the more involved they get, the worse it gets. Understand that's why is the cost of tuition in college is so high? Because the government subsidizes with loans. If that student defaults, which you can't, well, I guess at the end of life, you could default on it if you expire without having paid it all back. But you file a tax return, they'll take it. You can't write that off. But the school gets paid. They don't care. And that's why the tuition has gone up and up and up since the government started getting involved in college education. Knock it off. And federally is what I talk about. Same thing with our healthcare. All this stuff. That is why it's so dang expensive. That is why it's such a nightmare to navigate, is because federal government involvement. Let's get DC out of Tennessee. That's yes, help me get DC out of Tennessee. Your lives will be so much better without the government overreach. So, okay, that is that. So yeah, just a little recap. We talked about the VA clinic. Hey, keep up the pressure. Whether you're a vet and you receive your care there, you're a family member, you're just a concerned citizen that actually cares about vets. Make the calls. Call and don't just call it. Ours here in the 4th, Congressman Desjardins. We can call the other ones and let them know that this clinic needs to stay open. You got friends in those other districts, let them know. And hey, here's the trick. I'm gonna give you a little inside information here. When you call them, tell them you're a Republican primary voter, at least in the 4th district. Whether you are or not, a little irrelevant. Be respectful of the folks that you're calling. They're just taking the messages. They're staffers. They're doing their best. Don't try and vent your frustration on them. Vent your frustration at the ballot box. Show up in the Republican primary and vote Thomas E. Davis, and we'll get this empty suit non-player out of there. So the new district maps. Hey, just roll with it. Know what district you're in. Just get to know if you're seeing this and you change districts. Get to know your candidates. Again, keep the stuff in mind about the government overreach on accessibility to our personal information, warrantless searches, knock it off. And then, just stay involved in the process. We're still, we're all going through it. The inflation that's going on, or, the stuff going on, the wars that, manage your business as best you can, and then send leaders up there that actually care. And will be involved. That's me. So I thank you for your time, your attention, and your participation in what is our republic. And until the next one, this will defend.